Hey there, welcome to the Film Fan Club live stream. We're going to be talking about Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. I'm your host, Sam Carrico. I'm joined by John, Peyton, and Alex. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Doing good.
I'm doing
about the movie.
Quite well. I'm super excited to talk about this movie because I don't know how you guys felt about the previous Suicide Squad movie. So I did not like it. Going into this new movie, James Gunn had kind of said some comments he'd kind of pissed me off a couple times. So I'm like, am I going to like this new Suicide Squad? What's going to happen? I'm delighted to say that I thought it was really great. I thought it was a lot of fun going right into it. This will be mostly a spoiler review, but I'll let you guys go around the panel, if you want to call it that, and maybe give a brief synopsis of what you thought of the previous Suicide Squad and this Suicide Squad without spoilers. John?
The first Suicide Squad movie, I did not like. The editing was terrible. The construction was terrible. It had a bunch of potential to be super good because I like the Suicide Squad premise and the comics. And I even have my own idea for a Suicide Squad movie, DC. Hit me up, even though I don't have any history of writing. But anyway, it's a sick premise, and the first Suicide Squad movie really messed it up. I'm curious, because I didn't pay attention to any of the build up to this Suicide Squad movie. What did James Gunn say that pissed you off?
Oh, he said a thing about Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese made one comment about Marvel 2 years ago, said that superhero films are like a ride, or something about them being not real cinema.
Right.
And those comments have been taken out of context over and over and over again. And then James Gunn said something along the lines of, I could find it. Let's go to Peyton real quick. I'll find that.
Sure. So the first Suicide Squad, it's actually an extreme guilty pleasure film of mine. By no means do I think it's a good movie, because it's not. It's not a good movie. But that is a movie where I can just if I'm I don't know what to throw on, I can throw Suicide Squad on. I can work, I can talk, and just leave that film running in the background. And to me, that's what the film is. It's just a stupid good time. There's bits and pieces that I think everybody can enjoy from it. But no, it's not a good film. This movie is a million times better than that. Do I think it's the 96% on Rotten Tomatoes it's getting and everything? No. But I'll get into that in a little bit. It's still a solid and much better film.
Absolutely. Real quickly, what James Gunn said is James Gunn on Martin Scorsese's criticism of superhero films. Quote, "Coming out against Marvel is the only thing that would get him press for his movie. He's creating his movie in the shadow of Marvel. He uses that to get attention for something that wasn't getting much attention for." This is James Gunn talking about multiple Academy Award winner Martin Scorsese. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That just came out the last week or so. I have no personal connection to Martin Scorsese at this time. But let's go to Alex real quick with what. So anyways, that was why I was skeptical. I'll eat my words, though, and say James Gunn pulled it off really well. Alex, what'd you think of the previous movie and then this movie?
First Suicide Squad, like John, I wasn't a huge fan. I like little bits of it. I rewatched it because I barely remembered it. I hadn't seen it in so long. And I was like, oh, yeah, Will Smith is still pretty charming. He's a good actor. And then Margot Robbie's great as Harley Quinn. But the rest of that movie, it's a bit of a mess. I was like, the one good thing we got out of it, I don't know if y'all seen it, was Dan Olsen's video, Folding Ideas, the art of editing in Suicide Squad.
I have seen that one.
Yeah, that's something I'll still watch as a guilty pleasure, because I'm just oh, this is fun. I'm going to laugh at Suicide Squad without having to watch the whole movie.
Yeah. It's going off of that. I could see how it's a fun collection of scenes, Yeah. Those scenes were all taken and then thrown through this wood chipper that was the editing process, and I don't know, it doesn't work as a whole film. And then there's a lot of individual choices that they make regarding the Joker in that movie, Harley Quinn in that movie. Even as we get towards the end of talking about this film, because we're going to go in-depth spoilers in a second, but the emotional payoff for some of the characters in Suicide Squad when they try and make Deadshot see his daughter at the end and have that arc with her, I'm not feeling it. Whereas some of the emotional payoffs in this Suicide Squad movie are some of the best parts of the movie. Some of the best parts of the movie by far. So is there anything else that you guys would like to discuss before we go into this opening scene?
I didn't say how much I like this one, but I really like this one.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. Also, same. This one was great. Had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I wanted to try and find a pretty diverse panel, and I think I've done it. But unfortunately, we all really liked the movie a lot.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, but if you want to see some negative stuff, go watch our coverage of Loki. So this first scene, it starts out with Michael Rooker, who played Yondu in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So immediately it starts with him, and I'm like, okay, this is a James Gunn immediately putting his personal touch to it, and it walks you really quickly through, if you haven't seen the first movie, what the Suicide Squad is through Amanda Waller kind of explaining it to this guy, and I was interested though in like Rick Flag's portrayal at the beginning of this movie, because he definitely seemed like a guy who's just kind of like he almost, like he's so used to doing these Suicide Squad missions that he almost kind of has fun with it. I don't know. Did you guys notice that Rick Flag's character was a little bit more jovial in this movie?
Definitely. I mean, it seemed to me that they were doing the Suicide Squad has been going on for a while now. Mm-hmm. Like, Boomerang's very jocular towards the new guys.
Right.
They keep saying the famous Suicide Squad. I'm not going to join your famous Suicide Squad or whatever. So it would make sense that they would just be like, okay, now Rick Flag is a little more loose because he's been working with a bunch of insane psychopaths for the last however long they've been doing it.
You guys? No? Okay.
I totally agree.
Same.
I think he phrased it perfectly.
So we meet, Rick Flag, and he takes them through the Project X program, or not the Project X, the Task Force X, and then immediately is put on this team that we think is going to be kind of our Suicide Squad. At least I wasn't thinking about the commercials or anything, but I was like, okay, these are the guys. And then immediately they're all blown away, like as soon as they get there, in pure James Gunn fashion. Peyton and Alex, let's give you guys a second. What did you think of this first fight scene that we got?
Oh man, it was a lot of fun. I was having a great time the whole time. Like, one of the things I wrote down, I was like, Boomerang's way cooler in this movie. Oh, he's dead now. Okay. Yeah, because I've never been a huge fan of Jai Courtney. Like, it's a very specific role where I like Jai Courtney as an actor. So, like, his first little bits in this, I was like, oh, I like him. I like what they're doing. This can work. And then, 2 minutes later, just shredded. And I was like, oh, okay, well, now I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, but yeah, it was definitely interesting. And I think, as we talk about it serves the movie really well. Like, one, getting Amanda Waller established is just ruthless. Where the first Suicide Squad kept telling us that she's ruthless, that she's all of these things. This one was like, no, she'll kill a whole bunch of people just for funsies, essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought it was really good, but surprising too to spend, I guess, to meet Savant, the guy, and then have his head explode. It was like, wait, why did it was an interesting choice.
I loved that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, is he going to be the
good.
POV character? Are we going to follow him in this movie? And they immediately bait and switch you by having his head be blown up. And one of my problems with the first Suicide Squad was Amanda Waller, because the ultimate mission in Suicide Squad is to defeat the villain that she created, and then to save her from the villain that she created in the first Suicide Squad. And in this film, especially in this opening scene, you realize not only is Amanda Waller just ruthless, but she's actually pretty calculated too, and just as cold as you need to be for somebody in that position. So I thought that was really well established. And then also, we're wondering, where is Deadshot? Where are some of these other characters? Easy to just assume that they died on a Suicide Squad mission. So it's like you got a really a well built-in kind of excuse for any of that sort of thing. Peyton, John, anything else about the opening first couple minutes?
I just think it was the perfect way to start the film. For a movie called The Suicide Squad, it's good to see a lot of death happening, because in the last film, The Suicide Squad, most of them, they just go home untouched. Yeah. It was like, oh, that's a hell of a Suicide Squad right there. Mm-hmm. Just seeing
squad.
Yeah, the slightly difficult mission squad, but we'll go home okay. It was so perfect just seeing everybody. I was just laughing my ass off on Weasel fucking drowning.
Yes,
just in the ocean. I was like, oh, this is the perfect way to start. Just death, massacre everywhere.
Mhm.
This is the Suicide Squad.
It was like chaos, pure chaos.
Yeah.
That whole first scene, I loved it. And then that orange lady, she's like, "Don't worry, I got you." And Rick Flag's like, "No, just don't do it." And everybody dies immediately. I liked the chapters. This film also kind of has chapters, like the Snyder cut of Justice League. John, anything else?
I mean, there's so much to say about the first 20 minutes of this movie, right? I mean, from character introduction being so much more efficient, like,
Oh yeah.
they just
Absolutely.
go, here's Savant, here's what Suicide Squad is, and now we're introducing Savant to the rest of the team.
Mhm.
And then they go, here's Pete Davidson playing a character, here's Nathan Fillion playing a character. They have a bunch of people that are names that you'd be like, oh, they got Nathan Fillion.
Right.
And, James Gunn has worked with Nathan Fillion and Savant's character actor.
Michael Rooker.
Rooker
Right?
and a bunch of stuff. And they're like buddies. And so you think, oh, he's going to bring his buddies in to do big roles in this movie. And then they all just die. Nathan Fillion detaches his arms from his body and they move up the beach and get shot. And he's rolling on the ground screaming as his arms are getting shot. Amazing. Javelins carry my javelin forth.
That was a funny
Harvey
scene.
being like, what am I supposed to carry it for? Beautiful.
Yeah.
There was so much of it that was so good, and it did such a good job of it. Like in the comic books, characters die all the time, right? Because they're expendable. And in the first movie, the only one that they did that for, they introduced the rope guy, and he grapple hooks away and immediately gets his head.
They had one designated person to die.
Right.
And
And
that
then-
doesn't make you feel like anyone can.
Right, and then in this one, Weasel drowns right off the bat, not because he doesn't die because he does something wrong. He dies because the team is incompetent.
Yeah.
The administrative staff didn't bother to check if Weasel could swim before they dumped him in the ocean.
It's that look when Amanda Waller, when they asked that, and she's like, just looks so over it, and she's like,
There's so much stuff in The Office too, like the drones betting on which one of the Suicide Squads are going to live or die, and Amanda Waller just being like totally fine with it.
Yeah.
And just never once mentioning that the last team of drones we saw working for her were all murdered by her.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't even, there's the plot where the dude hacker is like, you wouldn't actually send Bloodsport's daughter to prison, would you? And Amanda Waller's like, yeah, fucking course I would.
Yeah, you have no idea.
And we're like, oh yeah, she killed her whole team of drones last time, so of course she'd do that.
Yeah.
Just the whole setup is so good for Suicide Squad. I like the whole movie, but that first 20 minutes I spent that whole time going, that's such a good choice.
Yeah.
That's such a good choice every time.
Well, and James Gunn brings his style to it with that opening credits scene, that opening credits montage. I love that song too. People Who Died. That's a good song, and it plays through just the way that the camera style is and everything. It just feels like super humorous and like very James Gunn, which is a really cliche thing to say, but I got to say it. But then we meet our real Suicide Squad team, or I guess our team 2 that they kind of become, the Suicide Squad of the movie. Bloodsport, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher 2, King Shark. I might be forgetting, but what did you guys think of that kind of fake out and then going back and then meeting the rest of our team? Who did we leave off with, Alex?
I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was an interesting thing, to touch back on Amanda Waller being ruthless and this being a Suicide Squad. At this point, you find out that she just sacrificed the A team, you think, because Flag and Harley Quinn are there.
Right.
She just sacrificed these people to so as a distraction. So it was one fitting into all of that. And real quick to go back, I love you were saying in the montage. I just wanted to get this out, just the people having fun in the office.
Yeah.
They're all laughing. They're also so detached from the death and destruction of all these people. And it's just every little choice, I was saying, I thought was spot on for that opening sequence. But
did you? So I took it as Pete Davidson's character betrayed the Suicide Squad, and Amanda Waller sent 2 teams to have one as a redundancy. Not that Amanda Waller sent one specifically as a distraction.
I got confused by that because it seems like we're told both. I thought.
Yeah, I think she I'm pretty sure she knew Pete Davidson was going to betray them.
She
that
let
was
him
the plan.
betray them as
Yeah,
a distraction.
That's how I read Amanda Waller. Like, she's so far ahead. She's like, all of these people are going to be over here. You know, if it works, great. But like, they're mostly to divert so that this other team can get through.
That makes sense because they do have a line when she's talking to Bloodsport in the headphone afterwards, and he's like, "Why are there no soldiers here?" And she says, "They're distracted." So maybe it was planned.
Yeah,
that's why I always thought it was part of her plan. Whether it be Pete Davidson betraying him, and she just knew that and planned around it, or she even maybe enticed. You know, because when has the government, enticed somebody to do a bad thing before? Never.
never.
Especially a Black Ops mission. I did appreciate that, though. Just the level of detached from actual, right and wrong. It's shown that they are. They are. Like, civilians don't give a fuck. Stopping the bad guy don't give a fuck. All they want to do is, we'll get there, but, they just want to cover up U.S. secrets. And I think that's really, really cool way to play that. But, yeah, anyways, the B team, Peyton, what'd you think of the B team? Idris Elba and company.
B team being the squad that just got wiped out.
No, the one that did not get wiped out.
One that did not get. Oh, yeah. Perfect. I love that it was just a bunch of, to me at least, I'm not an avid comic book reader or anything, but these are generally unknown characters to me. When they're like, the cast is Ratcatcher, Polka Dot Man, Bloodsport. I'm like, who the hell are these people? And now, Ratcatcher from that film, that's one of my favorite characters from DC now.
Right.
Just a girl who can control rats. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
Amazing.
So I love that he took these generally unknown characters and made them just so likable and so well known. I think he put them on a beautiful pedestal that they would have never gotten in any other film.
John?
He did a really good job. James Gunn and the people that made this movie did a really good job all the way throughout of giving everybody character development. Like, every character has information about them, but it doesn't feel forced, and it's not like a showy introduction thing.
Right.
So all of these characters, like Peyton said, I've never heard of any of them. I think I maybe heard of Ratcatcher once. It as a side character in another comic.
Yeah.
But to get all of them in this movie and to have them get screen time as characters is really, they did a lot in this movie to do that, and they did a good job.
That scene, well, they do a great job of giving you just enough information you need to the movie's not all about Ratcatcher and it's not all about Bloodsport. But you get enough there. The Bloodsport stuff was a little bit heavy-handed, going through that whole thing with his daughter, right in sequential order. But it was also reminiscent of Deadshot. But go ahead.
That's what I think is super cool about it, because it is straight up. Deadshot is Well, I mean, just different because they both have potentially good qualities in it, but it is straight up James Gunn's going to make a Suicide Squad. How do we convey very clearly that this is not this is not that movie? Right. We have our gunfighter dude prisoner character have a daughter that is estranged from him, and we introduce it he's gonna be like, oh, my daughter, but then he's like, no, fuck off, I told you not to come talk to me. And then and that's super harsh, right? It's really I can't be sympathetic towards this character, but then he ends up taking the Suicide Squad mission anyway that we knew 100% he did not want to do for any reason.
But he does it for his daughter,
to keep his daughter out of jail. So it's it's the same as Will Smith's as far as ingredients, but then Idris Elba's character goes, it's not that, we're doing it differently, but also I'm still a good guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's that sort of balance, walking that tightrope in Suicide Squad is completely necessary. It's one of the reasons I don't really like the first one. Is because everybody is oh, we're villains, and then suddenly we're not. and we never saw them really be villainous except they stole money that fell out of a bag on the street, right? It's like they're not villains in Suicide Squad. They just keep saying they are until the movie's over. But in this one, they're kind of flawed, broken people. The best one of them, Ratcatcher, is only a villain because she's so like supportive of the lowest beings in the universe, right? The rats. She's ostracized. I don't know. I think it's a really good...
I loved it. Yeah, I thought what I liked about Idris Elba was not necessarily his relationship and storyline with his daughter, but the way that played into him kind of seeing his daughter in Ratcatcher a little bit and then kind of creating this bond between the two of them. I absolutely loved the scene where he's like, I'm going to get you out of here alive. And she's like, no, I'm going to get you out of here alive. And I'm like, that's sweet. It's like a platonic, father-daughter kind of, relationship there. That was really sweet. And then obviously Ratcatcher, I was surprised they showed a drug abuse and overdose storyline, even in a smaller capacity in this movie, but like showing that her dad was a run-of-the-mill thief, and then who died of like an overdose, and then making that her tragic backstory. I mean, there are a lot of times in this movie where I'm like, oh, okay, this is really not for kids at all, is it?
But they also do a good job, like even with that. Like, her dad and her tragic backstory is that her dad is an addict and dies of an overdose. But during the delivery of that, they make a very concerted effort to be like, we're not judging her dad for being a drug addict.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a really nuanced stance that a lot of movies wouldn't bother with. They'd just be like, her dad was a drug addict.
Well, they have her, he says to her, like they do the thing that a lot of lesser films would have the audience think. It's like, oh, you've just got a lot of daddy issues, don't you? And then she says, I have no problem with how much I love my father, And I'm like, it's a really sweet fucking moment. Character work isn't my first thing that comes to mind with James Gunn. They did a great job. What do you guys say?
And I also think that...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, I love just the visual style with which they told Ratcatcher 2's backstory. How it's just like projected on the glass. Like, I thought all of that was so beautifully handled because like you're seeing her tell the story and you're getting to watch it unfold in this way. I was just like, man, what a clever way, like not that difficult potentially, to just project it on there, but like so affecting. And also, the fact that it was my boy Taika Waititi. I mean, I have no personal connection with him, but I was just like, oh, I love this guy so much.
We all just got to keep adding. We have no personal connection to these celebrities we like.
I just thought it was such a great bit when he did it. I was like, I'm going to throw it in at some point. I don't know.
I really liked the character introductions. I mean, Ratcatcher 2, the millennial shit kind of bothered me. But whatever.
But that was Pacemaker, though. That was Pacemaker. I mean, Peacemaker being an asshole.
Imagine his name was Pacemaker. I mean, Peacemaker made that. And you're right. He's like the douchiest, bro-iest kind of character ever. What'd you guys think of Peacemaker in this film?
I love that he's absolutely a douche bro, right? And, spoilers, he's the villain, right? He's the guy that Waller sends because when all the other villains may choose to do what Waller doesn't want to do, he's the guy that's ultimate. Like, fuck no, America, justice, hoorah.
Yeah, and I wrote down a quote from him that I loved so much, which was, I mean, besides like him and Bloodsport talking, but he's like, I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get it. Like, it was just like, all right, dude.
It is. I mean, he's great, and I really am excited for his little 5-episode origin thing. I heard that they greenlit it before Suicide Squad even came out, and I was like, oh, classic comic book, just greenlighting whatever shit they think is going to be cool. But then his character is really interesting from the perspective of like he is a douche, right? But then he also is nice to the rat.
Yeah.
Which is like
you get the sense that like he doesn't like dislike or like any of the people with him. Like he's fine being on the team, but again, like I think Bloodsport calls it out. He's like, I think liberty's just your excuse to do whatever you want. Like the guy has no real like moral compass or anything like that. Like he's fine with these people, but then he'll also murder all of them, if he has to, So I thought it was an interesting choice. Yeah, like him showing that he does like enjoy hanging out with these people, There
were so many times.
Casting,
go ahead.
I couldn't think of a better role for John Cena ever than to be this patriotic masculinity. Like, I'm gonna die for my country. I love my country and I'll do anything for them. I was like, oh, that is everything John Cena probably stands for in real life. This is perfect.
What is the film trying to say by having the Suicide Squad, like the government backing of the Suicide Squad, be so morally ambiguous and having the ultimate bad guy be the ultimate like patriot? What is the film trying to say by that?
That fanatic patriotism is bad?
Yeah.
Thematic?
Fanatic.
Fanatic, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they do a really good job of like, even the point of the movie, right, is that they're infiltrating a Latin American island to destabilize a regime that just couped another regime that was an American ally, right?
Yeah.
Like Waller motivates them to go do this by being like, "Whoa, they're a threat to America."
Yeah, they just did a coup, but now they have the technology at Jotunheim, and we don't trust the new government with the technology at Jotunheim, so y'all got to go.
Mm-hmm. And then we get in there, and they do a really good job of humanizing the bad guys that we know just did a coup against the country that was in place before, the power structure that was in place before, by being like, oh yeah, the power that was in place before that was pro-American. They were feeding dissidents to Starro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then to have him go, and I'm going to keep doing it even more to a greater extent. It's like, oh yeah, that was like, they did a really good job of explaining that all of the bad stuff that's happening is American.
I thought that was a really surprising choice, though, because like I thought it was ballsy, kind of on one level, to have them invade a Latin American country to destabilize the government. It was another. I mean, we're going to kind of be jumping around in the spoiler review, but it was another one to have another level of ballsiness to have them be like, no, it's not even them doing it; it's really us doing it. We're just covering our tracks. And Peter Capaldi, in a second, I'll get to his introduction. We'll talk about how great his character was, but he gives a great speech about how. He has a weird speech, okay? Did you notice this, guys, where he says, like, oh, he reveals it was America, but then he says that your people don't have the balls or something to do what's necessary for scientific advancement? Like, meaning, like, the implication there is like, oh, you Americans, and you're feeling bad for people, you know? Like, that's why you couldn't go all the way with this experiment like I want to.
Well,
and I'm like,
I mean...
So I was like, this movie couldn't even, like, you know... It says America's morally ambiguous up until the end.
I mean, it says, so he's clearly a mad scientist, right? He's like, yeah, so he's clearly a mad scientist. He's feeding people to Starro and presumably having sex with them against their will after they've been taken over by Starro.
That was, the implication.
Right? That was implied, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Strongly.
Okay. Okay, so he's clearly a mad scientist, and he says, you know, the Americans set me up here because God forbid we have these kind of experiments on American soil, because you people being the American citizenry are too squeamish to accept the cost of scientific advancement, which to him is scientific advancement, to us is brutal war crimes against humanity, right? Because he's a mad scientist. So he wasn't saying, America set me up here, but it's because you're not as bad as me. It was him going, America set me up here because your citizenry is too distracted from the truths about what your government is doing to allow it to happen on your soil.
I don't know if I got that from that speech, but I like that interpretation of it. I thought he was saying...
I'd have to watch it again to be sure now, I guess.
Yeah. I'll admit, I have seen the movie twice. It's a good fucking movie.
Yeah, it is good.
So... Jumping back real quick, so we finally get them to invade. No, but they finally invade. I thought this was a really weird scene. Or not weird. It was an interesting scene, though, because they invade. They're trying to get Rick Flag, and then they kill. It was good. So this movie's really good about setup, and like when it doesn't even realize that something's being set up. That had that Peacemaker Bloodsport interaction where they talk about smaller bullets and whatnot. Clearly set up for something later, and then the Ratcatcher stuff is all set up for later. But like they go through this village of who we assume are enemy combatants, get to Rick Flag.
I love that Waller tells us take them out with extreme prejudice. Like she doesn't say that about any other group. And then she's like, they're very dangerous. Take them out.
Oh my
with
God, you're
extreme
right.
prejudice. Yeah.
Holy
like,
shit.
on my second watch, I was like, damn, I thought she was being hardcore, but I forgot that she says this.
I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that. So that wasn't like a oops, you know, it was
Yeah.
like
No,
she
yeah.
totally set them to kill the freedom fighters.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She knowingly didn't give them the information.
Oh my
I,
gosh.
you know, so Flag gets captured in the jungle right after Harley gets captured, right? And
Yeah.
Harley gets
Yeah.
captured by soldiers in uniform, and Flag gets captured by a lady leading a gang
Yeah,
of
like a
people in
guerrilla
tank
fighter
tops and
looking
shit,
person.
right?
Right.
But they don't say like, "Oh, we're the guerrillas." They just show Flag get captured,
Right.
and so my head, I was like, they look different, but I guess they could just be like a different group of soldiers for
Yeah.
the bad
Right.
guys. And then they have Flag or they have Bloodsport and
Peacemaker. Well,
Peacemaker.
everyone on the team, essentially, yeah.
right, they have them murder all those people, and then they go, "Oh, they were rebels," and I was like, I knew they were rebels, and I just glossed over because Amanda Waller said they weren't.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like, been taken by, like, enemy something and, like, take them out with extreme prejudice. It's a very dangerous group. Yeah.
She absolutely got me, which
Yeah.
is funny.
Yeah, no, I love that part. And I was like, that's perfect. Yeah, again, with the like sort of American imperialism, they're like, no, we don't want a pro-democracy group in there either. Like, murder all of them. They're very dangerous.
I was a little surprised that the I can't remember the girl's name that was the leader of that freedom fighter group, but I was surprised that she was still like, sure, yeah, I'll help you or whatever, like right afterwards. I guess that she was just their best bet at that point, Peyton.
Yeah.
Maybe the plot just really needed her to come along. They wanted to have this bit and everything, but they still needed her to come along and everything. I mean, yeah, it could come down to like, oh, these are still my best chances to take down this government and overthrow these corrupt leaders. So yeah, you could say that, but I feel like it might have really boiled down to she's still got to come along.
She's
Plot needs
got
it.
to be, yeah.
She's got to be there.
So,
I like that Rick Flag was like, but hey, if we do get caught, you could probably take the Royal Mansion. I like that little like, yeah, I'm still working for the people that did this to you, but here's a bone.
yeah,
if it works out.
yeah.
I know they give her like one little line to justify the not killing the rest of the Suicide Squad. It's like the whatever government killed my whole family, so the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
I also like that Rick Flag is like, look, these guys are fucking idiots. But
I'm
they're
sorry.
also our best chance. Why is that rat waving at me? Because
I
he's
love
friendly.
That bit was so good.
the little
The
rat
Rick
bit?
Flag just going with it.
Yeah.
Like him being like, I don't know, I've never met that rat before, but I'm assuming it's friendly because it's a rat waving at you. I don't question shit anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've gone so far away, and I appreciate this, that they've gone so far away from the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight. Everything has to be real world, and if it's not real world, it has to have a really good explanation, because sometimes you just want to have fun with a comic book movie, and you can see, like a talking rat, not talking rat, a squeaking rat that helps you is like a lot of fun. So I liked also a little character I think around this point in the film is when we kind of are told Polka Dot Man's backstory, his really tragic backstory. Again, nice setup that is paid off later whenever he actually finally feels like a superhero. But like, I don't know, what did you guys think of Polka Dot Man's? Like, first of all, gross shit on his face, and then his tragic mom backstory, and then the comedy that goes with the mom thing. Anyone who wants to take that?
I've been talking a lot. You guys go.
Yeah, no, I feel like I talked about it too, but I can take this one. Oh man, I thought it was hilarious. Like, the sort of again messing with that, subverting like the Star Labs, like the cyborg story arc. Like they just like played with these archetypes so well. Cause like I'd never heard of Polka Dot Man, and again I was thinking the same thing as like the characters being like, well, what is this guy gonna do? And then you see him the one little time briefly just shred that guard tower. But then, finding out that like literally because, okay, to circle back, like his mother, we find out was experimenting on all of her kids, to turn them into superheroes. And like some of his siblings didn't even make it, So then they ask like, well, where's your mom now? And he's just like, everywhere. And then we cut to them, and yeah, it's just this, all of them with like her face or her body like in their clothes. It's just everywhere. And they do this gag several other times, showing that like how he sees the world is everyone is his mother. I thought it was just hilarious and weird and like funny and tiny, off-putting in that perfect like James Gunn way, where you're like, oh, this is especially like when they're in the club at that one point and he's dancing, and then everyone around him is his mom, and he's still just like grooving.
Oh Jesus! He had some clear issues.
So good. It was so good.
Peyton, Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man is overpowered as fuck. From watching that, I wish he would have gotten more combat, but I mean, dude, he just absolutely obliterates everything in his path.
Yeah,
like,
him and Ratcatcher are both kind of.
Yeah, like just seeing him take out that guard tower for the first time, because I mean, like it's Polka Dot Man. What is he going to do? And just seeing like his polka dots are some kind of like destructive. It burns through anything it goes through. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have guessed that. This guy can do anything.
Yeah.
Like,
it was fun. The guy from I think that's the guy from The Dark Knight that Harvey Dent threatens.
The guy from every DC thing ever. He's in Gotham. He's in The Dark Knight. He's in several other DC shows. He's in like so many DC projects.
He's a good character actor, like not
Yeah.
the leading man.
Malchian.
That's that name. Yeah, I think he's foreign or something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's got a fun
Originally
interview
from
where he
Kansas,
talks about.
So
why would a Kansas person have a name like that? That's really interesting. So I liked they go to that bar, the Gentleman's Club, to meet up with the Thinker. I love the Thinker. I really love the Thinker. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I don't know if you guys are into Doctor Who at all, but I think Peter Capaldi, after seeing him as the 12th Doctor, he's a really like for his age, energetic actor, and I think he's just allowed to go off in this movie, especially whenever. Again, jumping ahead a little bit, whenever he meets, face to face with Starro, I thought that was a really great death. I love that the Thinker is able to go off in this movie, and I thought it was a fun. I guess the Court of Maltese government tries to get him while they're at the. And this is whenever a couple of them become kidnapped, right? Yeah. So like Peacemaker, Bloodsport, and then Rick Flag are put together, are separated, and then the rest of them, I guess, take the Thinker and this bar scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good action scene, but I really like the introduction of the Thinker. What do you guys think?
I really like the Thinker. That whole bar scene is really well done. They there's the shot where Bloodsport goes up to talk to the Thinker, and you can see in the background, like over here, you can see Polka Dot Man in his disguise leaning up against the wall, but he's not like super brought out from anything. So you almost don't notice him the first time. And when the Thinker walks in the first time past Bloodsport, and then it does that little like James Bourne zoom onto Rick Flag in the back of the bar, I thought that was really cool. I rewatched that like 3 times. I was like, that's a cool zoom. I love that in the flashbacks of the Thinker, when he's working on the Starro program, he has fewer diodes in his head.
I didn't notice that. That's cool.
That's how they de-age
when they first go back, they're like, just take less of these. Look how Peter Capaldi's 30 years younger. He's only got 6 things sticking out of his head.
Oh, that was good. And then, a lot of this movie has really good sequences. There's 3 sequences in this film that are really big standouts to me. We've gotten to 2 of them now. So the first one was that opening scene, of course, with everybody dying. Really fun scene. I'll watch that scene over and over again, just absolutely out of nowhere. This next one, though, was Harley Quinn escaping from. Well, first of all, I guess there's a lot to talk about with Harley Quinn because she gets a lot of stuff to do in this middle chunk of the film, and it's
the Harley Quinn side story.
All balls to the wall type shit, which is I feel like perfectly Harley Quinn kind of thing. Like you read off what happened, and it's kind of like, wait, she what? So she gets not kidnapped, but like taken,
captive.
proposition. Yeah, captive.
Yeah.
But like proposed to, to be like
Mhm.
the first lady of this new government, which I guess the younger leader is just being is he just being like puppeted by the general or whatever? He's like, yeah, let's put her with Harley Quinn and he'll die. Was that like intentional,
Well,
or does
so
he
they're like,
genuinely try?
oh, maybe. Like the general
read
that
it
burns
like
his
that.
parakeets set him up to.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Harley
thought. Yeah,
Quinn.
I read that, like, what happens with the sets of power just being that, like, the dictatorship things where it's like, all right, we're on to the next guy, like
Right.
they're constantly, especially, after a coup, with everything being unstable, it's like just sort of like leaning into that instability, like, oh, well, this guy's dead, so now this guy's in charge, and then this guy's in charge. But no, I read it as like being authentic in the sense of like he knows his country loves Harley Quinn, and so like this will help solidify his power in the eyes of the people. And I absolutely love where that goes. I don't know if we want to go through it before we
No,
like,
absolutely.
spoil
We
what
can
happens
go.
with the guy.
We can go through the whole Harley Quinn shit right now. Because that's a lot of shit that we get for Harley Quinn right in the middle. Yeah, then she
Mhm.
fucking kills him and kills all of them.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of
speech
red
she
flags.
gives after she kills him is so good. The red flag
Yeah.
speech.
Yeah,
That was a
Really
good
good.
monologue. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
How do
movie
you-
does
killed it.
not like abusive men.
No.
No.
That was kind of course correction though. After they did the Joker,
Right.
featured the Joker in the last movie, and Harley like has been on this arc of like being like an independent person or whatever. I don't know if you guys saw Birds of Prey, it's not the best, but
Yeah.
like her arc in it is solid, I think. So
Yeah.
I like the way that they like mention the Joker without having to mention the Joker when she says like, hey, I've gone through some bad boyfriends, and so whenever I love it when I see a red flag, I'm gonna do the healthy thing and
I'm
murder
gonna
them.
murder you. Yeah.
Because the people that I like don't let you walk away. They come
Right.
after you.
No, yeah, I get that, but like,
No, she says that. I
No,
thought
that's
that
what
was super good, like second line of that monologue.
I still
to
wouldn't
point out that,
recommend
like-
murdering people, but yeah,
If you're Harley
It's Harley Quinn. It's
Yeah.
Harley Quinn.
If
Right.
you're dating the Joker and
Sure.
a coup president who's feeding people to a giant starfish,
giant starfish.
you can kill
Yeah.
him.
Killing kids. That's a red flag.
Yeah, that was a weirdly like I wasn't expecting to be hit by the line though when she says maybe you're prettier like this with all those like thoughts emptied out of your head or something like that. I was like, damn, okay,
Yeah,
Okay,
that was a
movie.
good closer.
that was a really good like because it's like half like I can't take it seriously, but then she says some shit like that, and I'm like, okay, good for her.
This movie did a really good job of walking the line between like taking itself seriously and
Yeah.
also being absolutely goofy nonsense.
Yeah,
It was kind of like waffled back and forth in the perfect way. A lot of movies do that, and you're like, oh, it just doesn't know where it's going.
right.
But this movie was
Right.
like, oh, it's doing it intentionally.
Absolutely. Well, there was a couple times where this film I thought was a little bit of a straight up comedy. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
like I don't felt like the characters thought that they were in any danger, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like I don't really get a sense of like, okay, our heroes aren't going to make. There's not that scene. And this is a really random reference, but in Spider-Man: Homecoming, whenever the Vulture like takes away, he's lost his suit, and the Vulture brings the garage down on him, and he's like he's at his lowest point. He's got to muster all his strength to do. They kind of do that with the Ratcatcher thing that we'll get to in a second, but like. I don't know. I felt like there was a couple times where, like, for instance, Harley's going through and it's a great scene, but like Harley's going through this whole like center of government and is like, I don't get the sense she's in any danger at all.
No, none.
Right.
But that's because she's the hero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They're
mean,
not
it's,
gonna-
it,
Kill off their
Sorry.
biggest star. The one actual like
Yeah.
huge movie star that's like, yeah, I'll keep making Harley Quinn movies even though Suicide Squad sucked. Like,
Honestly,
think they-
good on her.
I think they did a really good job because there are definitely action scenes where it's like, oh yeah, this is ridiculous. This is Wile E. Coyote shit. Bloodsport falls through every floor of the tower, landing on the ground, and then that floor breaking and falling again to get down to where Peacemaker is, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
King Shark gets unloaded on by a million machine guns, and then a tower falls on him, and he just walks up later. But they
Yeah.
did a really good job of being like, look, all of this action is insane and ridiculous.
Right.
Mongal is going to hang from the bottom of a helicopter until it crashes, and then she's going to burn up into a crisp. And
Yeah.
like, I could not tell until the end of the movie whether or not somebody was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought, so King Shark and Ratcatcher, right? They have a little relationship kind of where they're all asleep and King Shark is about to eat Ratcatcher because he's hungry.
Yeah.
And then Ratcatcher is like, hey, you wouldn't eat your friends, right? Well, we're your friends. And King Shark is like,
scene.
oh, then I won't eat you. It was a sweet scene. But also, I spent the whole movie not sure if James Gunn was going to, at the very end, just have King Shark eat her. They they all survive to the end, right? And she hugs him, and I was like, now is King Shark going to eat her? Because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell whether the movie was going to be like, this is genuinely endearing and uplifting and positive, or this is all just a setup for some brutal, horrible shit to happen.
Right. I don't know. I liked King Shark. I liked that scene though with him and Ratcatcher. Ratcatcher was kind of the heart of the movie, the softie.
Absolutely.
But also with her storyline. But let's get through this Harley Quinn shit real quick. Harley Quinn fucking murders everybody in that whole building. And I like the bird shit. Okay, first of all, now to take a slight detour again, why is there so much bird cruelty in this movie?
I know. I was like, there's some kind of metaphor I'm missing right now for these birds. And I can't figure it out. There's something there. Are we just talking
about the parakeets?
At the beginning, Michael Rooker kills
he bashes a bird. Like,
and then the bird eats him.
That was good. I liked that the bird came back and ate him. But then, like, whenever that guy lights that whole cage of birds on fire, I'm like, I didn't need to see that.
I thought that they were representative of karma.
What? How?
So the Michael Rooker one is easy, right? He kills the bird, and the exact same bird on a tropical island in Corto Maltese shows up and eats his brains, right?
Yeah, that would have been enough. But then when you light the whole cage on fire, I'm like...
So in the parakeet scene, right? First, it's the president takes Harley there to be like, look at all these beautiful birds that I have. Aren't I amazing? Right? And it's cool. The birds are like sitting on them, and it's crazy, right? And then he dies, and the next general takes over. And in order to solidify that he's also just as bad as the guy that Harley just killed, he burns the only thing that guy liked.
Right.
That we saw that he liked was the parakeets. And then when he sets them on fire, he turns around, right? And you hear the birds screaming behind him, but we don't see the horror of the birds being burned alive, right?
Right.
And he just continues to move on. And then when Starro has taken over everybody and all the humans are screaming in agony and terror, and Bloodsport turns around to walk away, we see the same shot of Bloodsport as the general. And instead of birds, it's people. Yeah, and Bloodsport goes, fuck, I can't. And he turns back around and goes to save everybody.
Yeah, and it's the similar sound. Because with all the starfish, they come out like birds. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think John.
I think that is 100% what that is.
That's duality right there.
There's still a lot of bird torture, though.
Yeah.
Especially the Michael Rooker at the beginning. They just show right up close the thing get crushed by a ball. And I'm like, Jesus. It was to show that Michael Rooker's a badass, though.
Right. It was such a good choice because, like, the bird showed up, and I was like, are they going to do Michael Rooker's character, Savant? Are they going to do Savant as actually, like, a kind of decent guy kept in prison, and he, like, sees the bird as, like, freedom or whatever, and he lets it go? Or is he going to kill it? And then he kills it. And you're like, okay, he's a monster.
Yeah.
It worked out. And I like that it was the same bird that came back and ate him. That was pretty good. But I think, is it after the Harley Quinn escape? Oh, I like they showed it in the trailer that they were going to try and rescue Harley Quinn, and then she was going to have gotten out on her own. I thought that was really funny in the trailer, but I didn't know how it was going to play in the movie. And it's hilarious, too, because we get to see her go through the whole thing, and then we get to see them prep to do it. And it was just good shit. Also, another good way to show the Suicide Squad interacting amongst themselves, like having a Bloodsport and Joel Kinnaman bounce off of each other a little bit. That was kind of funny.
Right.
Also, about that scene. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna, and a nice little, like, tiny bits of connection to the other stuff towards, like, Rick Flag and Harley Quinn, like, have developed a friendship. Like that was like
Yeah.
genuine, you know, and like he does care about these people, even if he's leading them on missions where like they could potentially die. Like Rick Flag is the type of person that will save, you know, these criminals if he can.
One of our own. That's the difference between him and Amanda Waller. Because I was like,
Right.
why, if they're on the Suicide Squad, why are they stressing so much that we don't like leave behind one of our own? But then I realized
Rick
that's
Flag's not an asshole.
exactly that's
Yeah.
Rick Flag's leadership. He's not really listening to Amanda Waller at that time. She didn't say not to save Harley, so he's gonna, you know.
Because communications blackout, man. She wasn't there for
Right.
a while. They just
No, you're right.
they
yeah.
all fell asleep at their command base, which is hilarious to me.
It was so good that she was napping when the signal
Yeah.
came back.
Yeah.
And when she's like putting was super
Yeah.
classic business executive power move thing.
I loved it. She doesn't give a she does not give a fuck about people. She's just that cold corporate. She's like, oh, I gotta have lunch with a senator that day. And again, just shit like that makes me think like, wow, somebody like this in a high position of power, you know, having that influence like that. Thank goodness that doesn't ever happen.
I wanted to say about the rescue attempt. I really like. It's really quick, right? They're like, okay, there's only one person in the building. I have a shot on her. Okay, we're going to go in. And so Peacemaker is on an overwatch position on the building. And he's like, I have eyes on the only person in the building. I'm good to take the shot. And it's like an attractive young lady cleaning, right?
Yeah.
It's like a cleaning lady.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Flag and Bloodsport, and Bloodsport's getting ready to climb. And Flag goes, okay, you're good to fire on 1, 2, and then Harley shows up, and it's like Rick Flag did not ask who Peacemaker was about to shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody was like, who is the one person in there? Peacemaker was just about to kill a janitor to get Harley back, and
Yeah.
Flag and Bloodsport were sure do it.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's that funny disconnect where it's like they're like in the mission and they obviously think there's going to be hostiles in there that they have to take
Right.
out. So I'm sure that Flag is just assuming that he sees some
Yeah.
hostile,
Right,
some
exactly.
person. And he just have Peacemaker like
Yeah, and Peacemaker's
locked in on a cleaning lady, like ready to go. It was so funny.
This was the perfect role for John Cena. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then when Harley Quinn does come out and she's like, I could go back in and you could come in and do your plan anyway. And Bloodsport's little, well, that's just
Patronizing.
patronizing. It was really good.
Yeah, and that was the first time
yeah.
they meet. I love that. Hi, I'm Bloodsport. Harley Quinn, nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a point where, yeah, no, she's hugging Flag because she realizes that Flag was going to come back for her. And I'm like, yeah, just seeing that little like bit of development and how much they've grown,
Right.
you know, as two characters, it's kind of sweet from the first movie. A lot more references to like, just like that, subtle references to the first movie. There was still a lot more of that than I thought there was going to be. You know,
Mhm.
Right.
just acknowledging that these people have a history and this isn't the first movie. But
Yeah.
Which you would think of a movie like Suicide Squad, the first
Even
one. Would
Harley
just
and
get
Boomerang
erased.
became friends. We saw
Yeah.
in that brief bit at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Called him Boomer the whole time. I thought that was kind of funny. Harley Quinn
I
was,
like the,
yeah, she did a good
Go
job.
yeah.
I just like the humor with Harley Quinn is hit and miss with me sometimes because sometimes there's like poo jokes, you know, and shit like that, and like it feels like God is like splooging all over us, and like stuff like that is like feels like a little bit childish humor. And then sometimes she's really hilarious, so it's just like
Yeah.
depends on the writer. I think James Gunn did an okay
Yeah.
okay job for the most part.
Bloodsport being like, "What's with the javelin?" She's like, "I don't know. I'm waiting for God to tell me." Jesus
Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
Yeah, or him too.
Or him too. Anybody really?
Anybody really?
The javelin, like most of the people get a little through line in the film that kind of there is their arc, you know, or whatever, and just giving outside of the big sequence, she kills that whole building full of people. But the javelin thing throughout the film for Harley, that was really fun, and it all
yeah.
kind of ties into my favorite part of the film, which we'll get to. But like, I just love the whole like payoff with her finding the purpose with the javelin. But then is it after this that they all go and the thinker takes them to Jotunheim and they are introduced
Yeah,
to
they go next to on top of that building where they're
right,
telling the
The
thinker.
interrogation
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
which was funny.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought that all worked well. And like Harley's comedy there I thought was good. Just like, you know, acting big and tough like the rest of them, but like just making stuff up.
Yeah.
You miss Max Black, you die. You cough with covering your mouth. I mean, all this was in the trailer, but yeah, it's still.
But that
it
was a
worked.
good line too, where he's like, "But you know, that's okay. You're fine, but like, also don't cough, you know, without covering your mouth." That was like funny
Yeah.
shit.
I liked Harley's line where she goes, "I am walking back and forth," because I spent that whole scene going like, "This looks really cool, but somebody has to mention that they're just doing this, right?
Yeah.
Just doing like a figure eight in front of him."
Yeah, and then I love like the tiny little bit polka dot at the end. He just leans forward and he's like, "Yeah," or whatever.
Yeah.
Just tough guy for a split second.
So I'm trying to remember who all goes. So when they go to Jotunheim, they have, I think, Ratcatcher and Bloodsport. No, who goes with the Thinker and who goes to plant bombs?
Flag and Ratcatcher go with the Thinker, and everyone else is planting bombs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then John Cena joins them, but
Peacemaker shows up.
So quickly though, now Peyton, what did you think of when we're introduced to the big reveal of Starro? We all of course knew that Starro was going to be in this film, but what did you think of the big reveal when we finally meet him at the end, Peyton?
Dude, I didn't know what to make of Starro. It's still so ridiculous thinking about what this thing is, and that like it's a starfish that's got like a xenomorph ability who can capture and what's the word? Like the mind control and take these like human subjects.
Right.
It's a giant starfish with one eye. There's only so much I can take seriously about it. And I mean, they did a good job, like trying to like explain how it works. And like, there were times it got really freaking creepy with like the possessed test subjects, kind of talking in that tone, seeing a guy chopped in half, and possessed by stars, seeing all of the creepy lab shit. I really enjoy that because I'm a horror nut, and that was like my little snippet of just seeing. I wish I would have seen more freaky lab stuff, more like weird experiments happening in there, because I got a taste of it, and it's a giant starfish. So
it's the perfect, like you said, how do you make something so ridiculous actually not ridiculous? And they do it. I really like the Thinker, like I said. So I like they couch this crazy shit in this fun mad scientist character, and they tie in the government angle and stuff, so I kind of have that political intrigue. And then they also have this weird, like, you know, whenever the Starro says, like, for 30 years he's had his way with me, and I'm just like, Jesus, you know. So it like has that weird adult humor in there and adult like themes to it. But yeah, we're talking about a giant starfish, so I think they did an interesting balance.
Yeah, and it does go in later. Like I was thinking about, it's like Starro's a little bit of a victim here.
Yeah,
like, you know, when
it comes down to it,
ahead. Yeah, when he was like, I was happy up in the stars, and y'all brought me down here, and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, he didn't ask for this.
Right.
I know I'm sympathizing for a giant starfish.
No, but you're right though.
Right now, but yeah.
That was like my only kind of like, not a criticism really, because I think it's still good what they did, but I was kind of hoping that Starro was going to get like negotiated with to like leave somehow. Because like they even when Starro was killing the Thinker, right? He even has that whole line, that like bit of dialogue where he's like, "I'll change. I'm sorry. Give me another chance."
Hilarious.
Yeah,
which is really good. And also the second point in the movie where I was like, this movie does not like abusive men, because that's absolutely I know I beat you before and you're kicking me out now. Please take me back. I will change. I promise, sort of thing.
Right.
And then to have the parallel, to draw the parallel of the Thinker to an abusive boyfriend for Starro's abused partner.
Yeah.
Right.
And then to have Starro get out, and then to have everybody try and kill Starro, and then to have them successfully kill Starro, and then to have Starro say, "I was happy floating through space looking at the stars."
Yeah.
That, I really liked that line, and it ended, and I was like, I don't know if they're good guys.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Poor Starro.
I know. Well, I think it ties in with like one of the sort of undercurrent. I mean, it's like, it's not subtle, but like the critique of like U.S. imperialism that's going on throughout all of it, like with the Black Ops. You know, this that we were fine with this country being horrific until a coup happened, and we don't know if the new leaders will be as friendly to America. So
Exactly.
now we got to cover our tracks.
Now it's our
And
problem.
sort of an even bigger example of like the United States, creates the monsters and then is like, oh, we have to get rid of these monsters. Like Starro was fine to just be floating around looking at shit throughout space. But then, the USA had to be like, oh, well, can we take this? And, oh, even though the Cold War's over, this could be good just in case.
Yeah.
I didn't really think of it as Starro being a direct parallel of like countries that we've intervened in. That's pretty good.
I was thinking about all of those because it's so sprinkled in, just like the cutthroat Amanda Waller style of like U.S. politics. Like we'll invade this area not to help them, but because like the power dynamics have changed and we don't want that. Or even it being a thing to where it's like we talked about earlier, like America doesn't have the stomach to do these sort of horrific experiments on their own soil. So we're going to farm them out to a country that nobody cares about. We'll do it over there. And if bad things happen, we don't care. It's outside of America. Only Americans are worth caring about. So it's like all of these kind of connected things going on throughout it.
So, jumping back just for a second, what did you guys think of? We get the ultimate betrayal. Well, we can realize the American government was behind this, and then we realize what Peacemaker was sent there to do. Him and Rick Flag becomes. It's kind of been sprinkled and hinted at throughout, like we talked about his morals when it comes to rescuing Harley and stuff like that. But we realize that Rick Flag is actually kind of a good guy who has all the right intentions, and he just can't. I don't know. Were you guys expecting this turn of events, like towards with the whole secret file type of thing? Because that kind of came at me in two ways. I wasn't expecting that, but then I wasn't expecting the moral questions there, especially by Rick Flag of all people.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it was interesting, and I sort of the way I read that because it's like I heard someone, I don't remember who it was, commenting that they thought it should have been Rick Flag potentially that was there also to cover up the secrets, and I was like, I don't think that works. Because like we've seen him like throughout this movie be like the moral center of that group. Like that's sort of his thing. Like he's going to rescue Harley. He's concerned for his team when they're being attacked, like not just out of self-interest, but like it's like this is a firefight that we shouldn't be in, And so I think it was sort of the culmination of constantly being betrayed by Waller and the final realization that like we're not doing anything good. We're only here like for like self-interest. I think it was a good culmination of like any of a through line arc of the two movies for Rick Flag. Yet again, we're not actually saving something quote unquote important or doing anything right. Like we're just here for the like self-serving reasons, and like he's had enough. He's done with that style.
But what's the point of the Suicide Squad? I mean, I feel like this is a guy that's leading the Suicide Squad.
Right.
So, I don't know. John, what do you think?
Well, put up the spoiler thingy.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I love this, by the way. This is so funny.
I like it too a lot. Just every now and then throwing it
up. Even though we've spoiled so much and it's been on but still, it's good.
I mean, it had to be Peacemaker that tried to protect the data, and it had to be
right.
It had to be Flag to try and protect it because Flag is the American, right? He's like the soldier that we're supposed to like. That's not a criminal.
Right.
He's the one that's the good guy from the beginning, right? And then he has to realize, oh no, I was a good guy for people that aren't doing good things.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the only moral choice there that's positive, because I think that as violent and fucked up as this movie is, I think that overall it's very optimistic and positive. So the positive action for Flag to take then is to say, well, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I actually am a good guy, and I'm going to take this information to the press. And then his conversation with, like, his fight with Peacemaker was really cool. Mm-hmm. Like, it was brutal and very physical. And then to have him lose and then to die, right? It's a great way to kill Flag, to have him die sticking to his principles.
Right.
And then to have his last line be like, Peacemaker, what a joke. And like, I was like, oh, John Cena felt that.
Yeah, that was good.
And then Ratcatcher shows up, and it's like, oh, this is another even more innocent person that Peacemaker kind of likes that he has.
Right.
Right.
Because we've seen him interact with Ratcatcher in a more friendly way than he interacted with anybody else.
Right.
Well, he bought
And
the
then-
rat a little drink.
Right. He got the
Exactly.
rat a little drink. He interacted with her as a person, and he wasn't aggressive towards her the way he was to everybody else that was a gunman, right? Because she wasn't a threat to him, so he could be friendly with her.
Right.
And then
Well, she could probably kill him, but yeah, with the rat.
100%. Ratcatcher could kill him, but yeah, that's a side tangent I want to mention later. But yeah, I mean, to then have Ratcatcher show up and grab the data, and for Peacemaker to be like, "Don't give it to me, don't make me kill you," and for her to be like, "No, I won't," even though I just saw you kill Rick Flag and know you could probably kill me if you get your
Literally
hands
2
on
seconds
me.
ago.
I'm not. Right.
Yeah.
And then Peacemaker gets her on the ground and he's gonna kill her, and her little rat runs up next to her and is like, wonderful.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Peacemaker's a fucking scumbag in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we even do get a brief moment where she's dropped the data, and he's about to pick it up, and she's like, "Okay, you have it, destroy it. Why do you have to kill me?" And he's just
I'm thorough.
Because
I'm thorough. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm still a monster, but I am a little bit disappointed that I'm gonna have to murder you."
Yeah.
It made me so interested for his origin show, because he
Yeah.
can't be a good guy, right?
Oh no, yeah, he's a psychopath that just guys that morally justifies his murder with liberty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that.
Right.
And James Gunn is making it, right?
Yeah. He
Oh, is
wrote
he?
all
So
the
it's
episodes.
absolutely
Oh, awesome.
it
Okay,
has
cool.
to be
Yeah,
critical of Peacemaker.
yeah.
Hopefully.
don't
I
know
mean,
how
I think it's gotta be one of those things where it's like James Gunn had so much fun with John Cena and Peacemaker that he was like, "Oh, this character's great. He's fucking horrible. He's an evil person, but we're gonna have a lot of fun."
there's a lot of potential there for sure.
Yeah,
I felt like this whole movie was what James Gunn wanted Guardians of the Galaxy 2 to be.
What's
Because
wrong
he
with
made
Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
nothing,
Oh, yeah.
really. I mean,
I
it's
was
a little...
I think that's
the
a better
pacing's
movie
a
than
little-
this.
no way.
No, it's not.
The pacing
I
of
don't know,
Guardians
man.
of the Galaxy 2
But
is a little
in
bit
different
off.
ways.
But let
I
me
love
make my
Guardians
point,
too.
Alex.
I love
When
both
they
movies.
announced-
I'm just saying.
When they announced Guardians of the
works a
Galaxy
bit more
2.
for me. Yeah.
When they announced Guardians of the Galaxy 2, James Gunn did a press release where he was like, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we're going to see a sort of darker side for these characters. Because even though they have been heroes, they were still villains. They were on the outside of the law. Rocket was an illegal experiment killing people. Groot teamed up with Rocket for some reason. Star-Lord was a thief. Gamora was the conquering arm of Thanos, right? And so he made a press release where he was like, the second one is going to see the darker, grittier, kind of more fucked up aspects of their characters. And then the second one wasn't really that. It was maybe a little bit of that in that they were kind of a little more petty than in the first one.
Right.
But they weren't bad. And then in this one, James Gunn gets to do this, and they're just straight up villains. And so he can be however fucked up and weird he wants to be with it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
don't
thinking
forget.
Marvel shut down his original idea for
I don't
Guardians?
know if they shut it down.
yeah.
Or maybe they were like, you know what, James, maybe tone it down a little bit.
It's still Disney. No, knowing that, because if I had known that it had fallen out of my mind years ago, that he had talked about it this way, I think, then this is more in line with what he would wanted. I guess my point is Guardians 2, I think, for me, works better because the fact that Guardians 1 was such a strong movie to where it's this one, you're constantly sort of you don't have the same amount of time that with two movies and a sequel to characters that you like with this one. So it's I think that's my point in Guardians 2 being better. But I love Guardians 2, man. That movie is so good.
I mean,
Guardians
I
2
liked
was a great
that
soundtrack.
Suicide Squad was all unique characters,
Right.
and that it
Yeah.
wasn't coming back to a bunch of characters that we knew already.
Yeah.
That's what I liked more about it.
No, yeah. I love this movie. It's
I-
fantastic.
Personally, just me personally, I love this film.
Easy 5-bagger.
Yeah, it's a 5-bagger. I'm a bit of a Suicide Squad head myself. So where I forget where we were. So yeah, no, okay. They did this thing. They pulled the same trick that they pulled at the beginning of the movie, where they like Peacemaker is about to kill Ratcatcher. You're like, it's impossible for her to get out of this alive, and it would feel impossible if they didn't do 8 minutes earlier. And then they who hasn't talked to us? Like, hey, what did you think of the 8 minutes earlier? The kind of explanation of how Ratcatcher gets out of that, and did you buy kind of using that kind of tool again?
Am I forgetting something that happened?
They would just go back in the whenever Peacemaker's about to kill Ratcatcher, and then it goes back and explains how Idris Elba landed down on the.
Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's but the whole what makes this film so much better than the first film, in my opinion, is it does not take itself too seriously. I feel like the first film really tried to. This is the Suicide Squad. We're badass, and you got to take us seriously, and everything. So any weird, like Bloodsport falling through the ceiling and land, I'll buy it because there's a giant starfish to go and everything. Anything this film throws at me, I'm not going to sit there and question. Is that really logical?
No, you're right.
Is this like this? Ain't you said it yourself? This isn't a Christopher Nolan Batman movie where I got to go. Ooh, could this all actually happen in real life? None of this shit's happening in real life.
Yeah.
So there was never a point in the film where I went like, I don't know if I buy this happening. That never occurred to me because I knew this wasn't that kind of film.
Yeah, I mean, Bloodsport's also got the magic outfit, that.
Oh my gosh, he does.
Like,
his outfit is so sick.
Everything
cool.
is a weapon, so it's sort of like, in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe it's got like resistance to fall damage. I don't know. It can literally do everything.
I loved also, I think this is included in that flashback sequences, the whole, the Milton back and forth whenever.
Oh, yeah.
The Milton.
Milton. Yeah.
So,
Milton.
So I was watching this with my
Milton
brother.
was with us the whole time?
And then she thinks that Bloodsport's name is Milton.
That was good.
Milton.
I'll be your friend, Milton.
I was watching this movie with my brother, and they have the part where they're like attacking Jotunheim, and they're coming through the really bright rain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, my brother's like, who are those two characters over on the side? And I was like, well, that's Polka Dot Guy, and that's their resistance driver who's still with them for some reason.
Yeah.
And then they killed him, and the other characters were like, why was he still with us?
Yeah.
He was helping. I loved Milton.
I thought that was funny. It was perfect.
I liked
too,
him
for
the
Polka
whole
Dot Man.
time.
Yeah. Because, of course, Polka Dot Man would feel bad about that, and Harley would not give a fuck, and then Bloodsport's just focused on the job. It was good. It was really good characterization.
I love that it was like, yeah, you're seeing stuff on screen, but these characters are interacting when you're not watching.
Mm-hmm.
Milton and Polka Dot Man must have had conversations where they liked each other.
Right.
And we just didn't see it because it wasn't important to the plot, but it makes the characters all feel more real.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. Milton dies. So then Bloodsport basically is able to save Ratcatcher, and it's a really good payoff too. Whenever he did go ahead.
There's one other thing in that flashback.
Yeah.
King Shark's little trip to the aquarium.
That was cute as fuck.
Adorable.
That was cute as fuck.
His little hopping from one side to the other. So adorable.
When he says dumb friends, I felt kind of bad for him because I realized he's surrounded by all these people who just are mean to him all the time, and they're like, "Oh, this dumb motherfucking thing."
Hopping back a little bit, now I'm thinking about. Remember when he's outside in the van by himself, outside the nightclub, all by
Just
himself,
listening to the music.
Just listening, and he's just not included. Oh my god!
Or when he's talking about wearing a disguise in the town, and she's like, "Oh, what disguise are you gonna wear? Fake mustache?"
That whole fake mustache bit was gold.
Yeah, he
fake
puts his
mustache.
finger up. And he's like, "It didn't work, and if it did work, we'd have to kill you because now there's another giant shark around." And he's like,
Some giant shark-shaped creature with a fake mustache. Or how he's reading that book in the prison when we're
It's
introduced,
upside down.
and they're like, it's upside down, and he just keeps going, I read book. I so smart. Gold.
It was good shit, but it broke my heart though. Whenever the little fishies attacked him, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of would have preferred it if they'd just been peaceable little aliens that they kept in a cave in an aquarium. But it was in Jotunheim, so it makes sense that they'd be monstrous freaks.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
And that fun little switch of like, oh, these things are adorable.
The
Oh,
music,
they're monsters. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and then so that brings us, smaller bullets. I thought that was really, really smart.
Mm-hmm.
That was a
wonderful.
very good callback and setup.
Well, because
I know.
it shows also that Peacemaker's full of shit, kind of, too. Because he's just talking. He's like, yeah, I use smaller bullets. That's why I'm better than you. And then Bloodsport's like, he's not talking about it, but he actually does use smaller bullets. So it's smart.
And Peacemaker's bullets are like Desert Eagle 50 caliber bullets.
I know.
You don't use smaller bullets, Peacemaker.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to bring up earlier, when they're having the Bloodsport Peacemaker like kill off in the rebel camp, and he shoots the one guy in the shoulder, and he's like, non-lethal, doesn't count, and he's like, exploding compression rounds. He's like, show off. Nobody likes to show off. He's like, they do whenever what they're showing off is awesome. And Bloodsport turns around, it's like, fuck. Right.
No, it was good. But I thought that, I don't know how Peacemaker, again, put up the thing. I don't know how Peacemaker would survive a fucking shot like that, though. Didn't it go through his neck and like into the neck artery?
It did.
No, he's not.
dead.
You saw the post-credit scene, right,
didn't
John?
watch
Oh, no!
He's alive. He
You
survived.
didn't watch the post-credit scene?
Hang on, let me watch it right
Come
now.
on, guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
no!
What a fuck up on my part.
Both Weasel and Peacemaker are alive.
The
I
Weasel
saw
one
the
was
Weasel
funny as
one.
hell.
I saw the Weasel one because that was before the credits.
Well, yeah, that was and then at the very end, there's another one where Peacemaker's in the hospital with.
Why? So, John, why is that a bad thing?
Why is what a bad thing?
That
he's
he
alive?
survived. Yeah, you're
It's
saying,
not a
damn
bad
it.
thing. I thought.
Okay.
I'm saying, damn it! How could I forget to stay and watch the trailer?
Oh.
I'm cursing myself for being a fool.
Yeah, John.
I gotta look it up.
You fool!
But yeah, I thought, Peyton, Alex, how could you survive something like that?
I mean, they
Liberty.
kind of go. I don't know,
here
yeah,
we go.
because of Liberty. But yeah, they kind of go into it where it's like
Liberty.
he's clearly, a survivor or whatever they say in that post-credit scene.
Yeah, you're right. They do say some bullshit.
it's like-
John can tell
yeah.
us in a second.
But
Yeah, I'm watching it
also-
right now.
Yeah, was kind of close to the same shot that that's the other reason that it kind of connected with me is like when he gets hit, not like in the heart or like directly in sort of like directly in the head or what we would otherwise call like an immediate kill shot. I thought it was also going to be a callback to the exploding rounds. I thought Peacemaker was going to explode.
Yeah.
Because
that would have been
that-
smart too.
Yeah, I thought that
would've.
was going to be part of the callback as well. But then when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, they just killed him, and he gets to say smaller
He
bullets.
blows up like
That's
right
fine.
in front of Ratcatcher, just
Yeah.
covers her.
I was expecting another like hyper violent moment because it was just like a little like nick, and then he like is about to fall down, and I was like, oh hell yeah.
He goes. He's like bleeding from his artery in his neck. Like
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was definitely made for us to think that it was lethal and then be a surprise.
I wonder if it was
the
during
building falling on him.
I wonder if it was during. Yeah, you're right too. I wonder if it was during the product, like that they like he wanted to do the spinoff. So he's like, all right, let's shoot this extra scene of him in a hospital so we can bring him back. That's why John kept mentioning the spinoffs in Origin. I don't know if it's going to be an Origin. I don't know if it might go back and forth. What do you think? Having seen go ahead.
Peyton.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it might be a continuation because I was looking at the IMDb after I finished it, and those two Amanda Waller's little like agents who come and like see him in the hospital, they're like on top
in the
billing.
show. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
So I feel like they got some weird stuff they want to do with him. Because
Okay.
Steve, that's the name of the guy, and Jennifer, the actor and actress who are those guys, they're right there next to John Cena in top
Okay.
billing. So they're obviously a big part in it. So I think it is a continuation.
No
Maybe
shit.
they'll do like it seems like maybe they'll do a continuation. I mean, I have no idea if they're going to do origin story stuff. I think it'd be cool if they did because I want to know where John Cena's character came from. But if they don't do origin story stuff, they could do him like coming to terms with what he tried to do on Corto Maltese.
I don't think he'll
Be
do.
interesting.
I think he'll continue to do bad things
Just
on
be
this
a
show,
monster.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the fun because they
Yeah.
mentioned that this character is based on the comedian, or the comedian is based on this character from Watchmen,
Mm.
and I'm like, I could see that, and I would want to watch a
Okay.
show about the comedian, you know. So like, if you pitch it to me that way, I'm down. But
There you
yeah,
go.
so
Yeah.
Weasel could come back, and Peacemaker is coming back, so that's always a lot of fun. I say that right as I take
would
away the
be
spoiler.
totally happy to see miniseries shows that are standalone contained stories about every single character in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that would be great.
I don't think there was a single character in this that I was like, I'm not interested in you.
Yeah.
I'd watch a show even about TDK. Just
I
slapping
would
people from a
absolutely
distance.
watch a show.
Absolutely.
about TDK.
Yeah.
100%. What does TDK stand for? It's my name. Your name is letters? All names
All
are
names are
letters.
letters.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Uh,
John.
Really well
Wonderful.
done. I also, just when we're talking about that scene, I loved, she's like, I love your accent. She's like, all women love my accent. It's
Yeah.
true. We don't got none.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really funny jokes in my, like that stuff like that. Harley being funny in that way, I think is hilarious. But then like the poop jokes and stuff, I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Sam. All right. Can we talk about my favorite scene in the film, though? Finally, like they this is where they try and do their lowest point in the film, where it looks like Starro is, well, a couple things, I guess, before we get there. Amanda Waller comes back on the comms, tells them not to save the city. They decide to save the city in a really good scene, I think, where they're like, you know, they realize that even though they could die, they're going to try and do the right thing. And then Amanda Waller, there's like a mini coup in her office, and I'm like, do these people not realize what she's capable of? She'll fucking kill all of you.
They do know what she's capable of, and they do it anyway, Sam. That's the point.
No.
That's
Fight
cute.
the power.
Exactly.
Well, like just the office drones, though. I'm like, she like shot in the head like all the other ones in the previous movies. So like, if I were her, like immediately when I wake up, they're all dead. But
Yeah. That's what I was thinking until I saw the post-credit scene. I was like, well, that staff died, even though
Yeah.
we liked them.
yeah, rest in peace, that staff.
But
Yeah.
I read it as like it all worked out in the end, and so Amanda Waller can't she could obviously.
She
but
lost
she's-
that entire team of Suicide Squad people. Like they're all free now because of what
Yeah,
her
but-
staff let them. That's not a strategic win if I'm her.
But the data's not on the internet, which is good for Waller.
Yeah.
And the starfish is dead, which wasn't her primary concern, but you know it was probably
It's
a
an
threat
added
to the
benefit.
United States.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's probably more one of that like, well, they hit me in the back of the head, but it worked out, and I respect their willingness to fuck me up
Yeah.
for what they think needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I love that one of them knocks her out, right? And then it's another one that's the first to go back to working for the team.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like one of them knocks her out and goes, okay, now I'm in charge, everybody get back to work. It was
Yeah.
like
Right.
more of a communal, like they
Yeah,
all
they all
agreed.
just start, and then the one girl, the girl who knocked her out, yells at that one guy. She's like, "Damn it, Brian, get back to the fucking cell, you fucking idiot," or whatever.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Gosh, Amanda Waller's a brutal person in this movie. And then, so they make the very great decision to go save the town, and then it seems like they're gonna die. Like, I mean, they kind of like, doesn't it get to that point? Oh yeah, because Bloodsport like runs out of all his things. Polka Dot Man. Just for a second, as we wrap up Polka Dot Man's story, I absolutely loved the part where he goes, "I'm a superhero," you know, like that was really sweet. And then also
Yeah.
having the thing be his mom.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
I really liked it, but also at the same time, I want, if they make another Suicide Squad movie, which I'm sure they will because this one was amazing.
It did really
Right.
well.
I want somebody to have a moment where they're gonna say like, I've redeemed myself. I've become a hero. And have somebody else be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can do it. You can redeem yourself and become a hero, but don't say it because then you die, right? I want somebody to call out how like obviously Polka Dot Man was gonna get crushed as soon as he said that.
I didn't
see-
I just thought it was payoff to the earlier thing.
Yeah, it was. It was good character arc and progression and payoff, but then that means his story was over with, and so he was available to be killed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The plot armor had fallen away at this point.
Once a character develops, then
Yeah.
you can kill them.
Done.
into the trash. Yeah. The other thing, like talking about his magic suit, like when he puts together that gun, I wrote down, I was like, coolest gun since Lost in Space.
Sick gun.
Yeah.
Also, there's a part where they're on Jotunheim, and like we've already established that his gun is modular and has a grappling hook, and he's like hanging from the hole in Jotunheim that King Shark fell out of. And I'm like, couldn't your suit just make another grappling hook? And then they rescue him, and then he falls again and grappling hooks again. And I was like, oh, they did what I wanted them to do. So I thought that was really cool.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. But it's just insane, the technology of Bloodsport's suit, and also just like glossed over. Like, it's got everything. It's fine. Got a sword, got flamethrowers, got bows and arrows in his sleeves. Like
Waller's canned description of who they are. He was raised from birth by his soldier father to be a killing machine. In his hands, anything is a weapon. Did not mention that Bloodsport had some sort of alien suit.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of that helps everything become a weapon when your suit is literally made for it.
Everything is because of weapons, because they're all weapons. It's just weapons everywhere.
And then, but then at some point in that montage, Peacemaker blow darts like 3 guys, and my brother goes, "Why is he using a blow dart?" And I went, "Because in his hands, everything is a weapon."
Yeah. I also love that little bit to jump back to the beginning, to where like we meet Bloodsport, and then she introduces Peacemaker, and he's like,
exact same.
Here? We're the exact same. Like, what do you mean specialized team? We're the exact same person.
But then it turns out that there is actually a reason that he's there that's different.
Yeah.
Right. I know.
That's true.
It's a smart movie.
There's so much
movie.
Okay. Favorite sequence. Seems like they're all going to die. Then they don't. I don't know what compelled her to do it at this particular reason, but then first of all, Starro says this city is mine, and then she says it's not yours, it's not ours, it's theirs, and then all the rats come. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. Love that shit. And then the music is all swelling. Great song. I've listened to it several times since the movie has been over. And then we get a great fucking flashback of her father. And then, she says, why rats? And he's like, because they're the lowest creatures. If they have purpose, so do we all. And it's like, I get it, because they're criminals. That's what the parallel is. I get it. That's good shit.
Smart movie.
I see what the movie's doing. And then comes to her, she's crying. Smart. And then also they mention that Bloodsport has a fear of rats. And so in that scene, I thought it was, I read into it probably more than I should have, but like it was parallel because he's like covered in the rats. Whereas whenever he was a kid, the rats were like attacking him. Now they're saving him. Good shit. I might have cried. It's really good. And then Harley Quinn is kind of hilarious because it's another one of those things. It's like, how the fuck does she survive? Because I remember, I can't remember what happened to her immediately before that, but she fell like into a chasm. I felt like. Yeah,
like the building was falling on top of the building she was on, and she just falls in, and then the building falls on top, and it's like, oh.
But then
she's alive and on top of the building now.
then in the next scene, she just climbs up, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. They showed us an extensive scene of how she can survive anything, so like I'll buy it now. And then she jumps into the fucking eye of that Starro. Beautiful, really well shot. And then the little rats all jump in there, and then like her looking at all the rats swimming around. It's like, and then it's kind of, because I realize they're in an eye of a living thing, and then ripping apart its insides. So I do get it. It's kind of funny because it's like it's disgusting and gross, but also it's like really well done. Yeah, you're like, this is gross, but also beautiful and moving.
I mean, it's like the culmination of an emotional scene. Ratcatcher coming into her power to save the day and stop sorrow, and like Bloodsport has a fear of rats, and so when the rats show up, he like hunches up all like a position, and she's
as they're showing up, he's like, oh no, oh no,
right.
Oh god damn it.
And then she like protects him as the rats crawl over them and then go up into the starfish, and and then you just watch rats eat the giant optical nerves of a giant starfish. It's super gross.
Classic
Beautiful.
stuff.
Super gross.
It was the
Classic.
most, probably one of the most beautiful sequences I've seen in a movie in a while. It's
Yeah.
really well done. Like
It
I
is
love
super
that
well
scene. I love that fucking scene so much. So yeah, but like, so can we just talk about though what the problem that comes about with that is? Ratcatcher too overpowered?
Yeah, but she's also a good person, and so
Yeah.
wouldn't use her powers for evil. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, any Suicide Squad with her in the next movie, I'll just be like, just do the thing again, just do
Yeah.
it. You got
Just do the
Superman
Rambo
over there.
maneuver.
Just throw 1,000 rats at Superman. He can't fight 1,000 rats.
True.
Like, come on. Eventually,
Well,
they'll-
does
the
Superman have
internet-
any weak points for the rats to dig into?
He's just gonna
But
fry
they
and
ha-
laser eye them
well,
all.
Sebastian
What are you
has that
talking
little backpack. Put a little backpack of kryptonite on each rat.
Yeah.
Send all of them at Superman.
Just
He's
okay.
done. He's done.
This is the same level of question as like who would win in the fight, the sun or a trillion lions?
Yeah. You know what
They
this
have
is, though? Oh, go ahead, John.
They have a line in her backstory where she's like, "I got arrested for
Robbing a bank.
robbing a
Armed
bank,
robbery.
armed
Armed
robbery." That's
robbery,
right.
yeah.
And she's like, "They thought my rats were weapons," and she delivers it like but then. Later, we see her have a rat dive through a man's mouth and eat out the back of his
That
throat.
was good shit.
Yeah.
And then her rats kill Starro. So yeah, those rats are a weapon if you use them as a weapon, right?
Yeah. No, it was good. I love that sequence. It's amazing. I love it. I'll defend it at any day of the week. But also, yeah, she's kind of overpowered. It's why they do something like this at the end of the film, and have her that be part of her arc, and
Yeah.
she's like timid and reserved at the beginning, and then she comes into her own. You know what this is, though? This is literally the way I talk about it. It's El Diablo from the first Suicide Squad movie, where they tried the
Only
fire
well
guy.
done.
Yeah, but well done. It's what that's the thing.
Right.
It's another example of this film
Only if
taking
you-
a concept that was in the first one and making it work.
If they hadn't cut all the connective tissue out of El Diablo's storyline in movie
Yeah.
one,
Yeah. But
what a Peyton shaking your head. You like El Diablo?
Dude, no, El Diablo is one of the worst parts of that film. We get him to use his powers by going like, "Oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm angry now. Now I'll help."
yeah.
And then we kill him at the end. And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Revealing that his powers are like,
He turns into like a Mayan
literally
god
Ratcatcher.
also.
He
Yeah.
turns into a Mayan god. He's OP as shit, and then he dies. Ratcatcher doesn't die,
Yeah.
though.
Thank goodness.
Right.
I love Ratcatcher.
Thank
She's my
goodness.
It would
favorite
have been a
character.
real
Ratcatcher
bummer if
versus El
Ratcatcher
Diablo.
had died.
And I love whenever Starro falls over, we get that really sad line where he says, "I was happy, just floating, staring at the stars." and then we see he falls over. It looks really gross too. His eye and everything full of blood
Yeah.
and shit.
It's all sloshy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he's just,
Yeah.
and as he falls, he looks like really like dehydrated too. Like that's like he's like discolored or whatever. I don't know if I should say he or they, but but then they have Harley Quinn that crawl out of the eye and just do a little thumbs up, and then little Sebastian crawls up right next to her too.
Yeah.
And I realize it's the one with the backpack, so it's my favorite rat. Oh, it's good shit. She must have been holding her breath for a second though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fine.
I wonder how many rats got stepped on though, because whenever Starro
so
was
many.
like,
I mean, a lot.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
many
It's like
rats.
So many
Everything
rat
is covered.
fatalities.
Oof.
we just don't talk about that. Ugh,
Yeah.
Well, they've served their purpose.
those poor rats. It would be a conundrum though, because I imagine someone like Ratcatcher is really empathetic towards rats, So like that's just something they don't have time to go into in this one
Right.
film.
Yeah.
Right.
We have enough time having human beings being grieved over the loss of other human being characters.
Well, like
Then a
literally
scene
though.
where Ratcatcher is just like crying because of all the rats that
Well,
died.
just to like acknowledge the sacrificer, because you can tell she actually has a relationship with one of the rats, So
yeah,
it wouldn't
Sebastian
so
for sure.
yeah, so
I
she
mean,
probably
we
would
have
feel
seen
bad.
her. I mean, I guess throw them out in dangerous situations at other times.
Yeah.
Like saying like when she had the attacking different people, or getting ready to fight the shark
would you-
when he's about to eat her. So it's like,
how would you
that's
describe
sort of-
that to somebody? Like, how did he die again? This girl threw a rat at him, like,
Yeah.
and then he just fell over.
Mind controlled the rat to eat through his body.
Oh,
Or
that-
even
oh my
she
gosh.
threatens the one guy, I'm blanking on his name, Peter Capaldi's character, but
I
like
think-
with like, how do you want a bunch of like rodents crawling up your intestines? He's like, my answer may surprise you.
So that
Yeah,
at
good
first
little
I was
bit
like,
of,
that's a
just-
joke. At first I was like,
Yeah.
that's just a joke. He's not really into
Right.
some freaky shit like that. But then they have the "had his way with us" line later on, and then I
Yeah.
realized,
Mhm.
man, Peter Capaldi might be a sex pest in this movie. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he might.
He's
The
into some
Thinker
real
is
freaky shit.
absolutely a pervert. That's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believed him when he said it.
The
I was
first
like,
time?
oh shit, this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he means it. He's
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Here's a
Fan-
question about Ratcatcher. Is Ratcatcher mind controlling the rats or communicating her desires through the little mechanism and the rats are choosing to do it?
my understanding is there's no mind control. It's all like you
It's
could
just
train a cat.
communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
just
Okay.
communication.
That's cool. I like that better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think mind control would be silly. I like the better that it's a skill she learned from her father, and just like, yeah, the light. I don't know what the light was, but could you
It's probably
imagine?
the device that lets her communicate with them.
Well, I know it.
Or
I
like
know,
amplifies
just, how does that
whatever
work?
she learned.
She would like point with it, like it would be kind of
Yeah.
like a go here.
But like a
kind of
million rats within a couple of mile radius, like all see that light. Like I don't. You know.
It's like a summoning
Maybe
beacon,
it
like a
releases
telepathic
a
thing.
sonar,
Yeah,
could
like
be.
Batman with his bats. Like
Right.
Yeah, I was assuming it was like an amplification of whatever else she did. Like, because especially she seems to be communicating somewhat with Sebastian the whole time, regardless of
Mhm.
if she's using the light. So I thought
That's
it was like just sort of like an amplifier of whatever she learned from her father, or something like that. I also love that it was like whatever the PlayStation 2's version of a Wii controller was.
Yeah.
I just saw that and I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Ratcatcher 3 over here.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what that was?
I
I had
mean,
some Peter Capaldi kind of shit.
this is an actual prop from the movie. It's
Yeah.
Ratcatcher's wand.
Yeah.
Got it at an auction. It's really great.
Yeah, I love that
Congrats.
ending. Good shit. Ratcatcher's best character of all time. And I think that kind of brings us close to the end. They blackmail Amanda Waller. They don't release the information, which I thought was kind of a interesting point to just gloss over, because they spend a lot of time about how it's morally right to do it. And then they have them save the whole town, but then they have them just like negotiate the release using that instead. And they're just like, who gives a fuck? You know, we're still bad guys. So, but also,
Yeah.
you mentioned it's a win. Somebody mentions it's a win for Amanda Waller, but I'm like, this is I don't know. It's a big strategic like disadvantage to have Harley Quinn, Ratcatcher, and Bloodsport and King Shark all free and out doing whatever they want now
They'll get arrested again soon anyway.
by the
Yeah.
next movie.
I mean, Harley Quinn got arrested right before this movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she was
Because
free. in-
Boomerang
in
is like,
Birds of
what are
Prey.
you doing back? And she's like, oh, I got arrested for something.
Yeah, it's like I got a speeding ticket in a bank or something like that. Like she has
That's
like
right.
a ridiculous line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
King Shark,
Yeah.
you could probably just walk up to him and be like, hey, I got munchies back at the prison.
Yeah. Nom nom.
Yeah, nom nom.
That'd be a little manipulative.
Yeah,
Uh,
Amanda Waller's not manipulative at all. She's
Right?
strict moral code.
Really,
Right.
the only deal they made was, I'm not going to blow up your head and I won't send your daughter to prison.
Yeah.
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 Well, they get to go free. That's a really big like thing. Like Harley Quinn gets to go free. I just think like if I'm Amanda Waller, I would not allow that to happen. But
Mhm.
but also
Yeah.
those are pretty big government secrets, and they don't want to reveal that information. I guess so. I get
Yeah, I
it.
think
Yeah.
you got to cut your losses on that one.
At a certain,
I also,
she's a crazy
I also
clown.
read it slightly as like in universe, releasing this type of information would have so many ramifications throughout the rest of DC things. It's like that
Yeah.
might be too big of a thing to try to play with. We want to make more Suicide Squad movies, so we're just gonna let this be kept under the rug. Maybe we'll deal with it later, but like, you know, dealing with all of the political outcomes of like releasing that kind of information would be, you know, something hard to deal with in a whole cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the last. Oh no, it's the similar, because the last movie ended with Harley Quinn escaping Belle Reve, and then this one she just let go, so it
Mhm.
works out. Any closing thought? That's pretty much the end of the movie right there. We've made it all the way through. We talked about the post credit scenes, I think, quite a bit, and we talked about Peacemaker, what's to come there. You guys ready to do like final thoughts, or is there anything you wanted to talk about beforehand that I didn't mention?
I guess the only other tiny thing, like we talked about it briefly, but I just thought all of the like title cards and how the visuals of all of those,
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, Zack Snyder did it first, but I get it.
When did Zack Snyder do that?
In the Snyder Cut.
The title cards being like, yeah, the title cards have existed, but using them as like written in the blood or in the leaf, all of that stuff.
In the blood, you're right. That was fun.
It's just like invented title cards.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, he's doing the Snyder Cut thing." As soon as I saw it, so I was like, "Oh, okay." I just saw the movie this year, so I'm like, whatever.
I was like, yeah, title cards have existed for a while. We used to
never before.
Like, any YouTuber video essay has interesting title cards, but I like seeing them not only like cool, but like their own interaction with them. That being a goof when they're like Operation Jotunheim. And then Frank's like, no, wait, we got to do something else. And then it, blows this thing out
Operation
of the
Jotunheim. Yeah. That was a good touch. I liked that. No, you're right. I think that, brings me to the end of the movie. I really liked it. I did not expect to go into it liking it as much as I did. But, yeah, it's really great. John?
I was hopeful but pessimistic going into it. And then to have it be as good as it was, like, I mean, I probably need to rewatch it again to see if I want to score it even higher, but I'd give this like an 8.59 out of 10 for sure. And might give it more than that on rewatch just if I catch a bunch of stuff that I missed the first time through, maybe. Because there was a lot of really intentional shit going on.
Yeah.
And so I could see like shots having stuff in the background that I maybe didn't notice the first time and will on a second watch.
Right.
But yeah, right now, 8.59.
That's a really high score. I don't know if I would
really
go that
enjoyed
high.
this.
It's
and
really
I also
fucking
love Suicide Squad as a premise. Like,
right.
I was really bummed when the first one was bad.
I feel that. Peyton, how would you summarize your thoughts now that we've gotten into spoilers about Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad?
Well, man, listening to you guys, kind of what John was saying, there is a lot of stuff in this movie I missed. Like, there were a couple times y'all were getting into like deep philosophy talk, like this is what this meant, and I went, oh shit, I was just watching a fun movie, and I didn't in my head. So I definitely need to go back and watch this again. Right now, it's probably a solid like 7 for me, out of 10. Where I would put the first Suicide Squad at like a 5. It is just the most average movie, in my opinion. It is right there in the middle.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I do need to go back and watch it. And kind of like what John said, I might rate it higher now that I know there's all of these secret little things hiding in the background.
Yeah. And Alex?
Yeah, man. I, like, similar to John, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't even know if I would give the first Suicide Squad a 5. It's like,
I wouldn't.
I would say probably 3.5.
Maybe a 3.
It's a bad movie that's interesting if you care about, like, editing, because you can watch how editing goes wrong and then understand it more. But like, there's a few things, and then like I so that was terrible. So I was really skeptical. Let's say like when Birds of Prey came out, and then Birds of Prey like wasn't amazing, but I was like, oh, okay, at least this movie's fun. Like I like what they're doing with the Harley Quinn character more now. So going into this, I was more hopeful. I wasn't as skeptical. I was like, I love James Gunn. I'm excited, and then it just even exceeded what I expected. Like, it was just, like, from that opening scene where everyone's just getting fucking murdered. Like, Captain Boomerang dies, and I was like, oh, all right. Well, all right, let's get after this.
Crazy, too.
Yeah.
Chunks of tree stabbing out of him.
Yeah.
And then he, like, was chopped up from behind by the chopper.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
The helicopter, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a crazy death.
Basically, it's like two emotions with Boomerang. Like, he throws his boomerang and it like kills those guys in an actually interesting and compelling way to where I was like, oh, now it makes sense why he's here, because it never made sense why this common thief that throws what we in America kind of consider a toy, like as someone to hang out with all these people, and then in this it's like, oh, I get it, he's awesome. Oh shit, he's dead. Okay, well, so yeah, no, whole lot of fun. I would say go see it. Yeah, probably. Like, between 7 and 8 for me if we're going to scale it out of 10. But, easy 5-bagger, 2 sodas.
5-bagger, 2 sodas. And maybe a little bit of handcuffs, so that way you can go to prison.
Exactly. Yeah. And a little little rat toy, just
Oh,
waving
that's
at you.
good. Yeah, a little rat. Just wait. I absolutely adored this movie. Yeah, I've already said it a billion times, but yeah, I was really. I can be sometimes I could be a cynical person. So I was looking for problems, looking for things. I couldn't find a lot of them. I didn't expect myself to get as pulled in to the character storylines as I did. That a lot of my reaction is that emotional reaction that I had to that climactic sequence. Beautiful. One of my favorite things that I've seen in a movie in the past couple of years, or at least this year. That's as far as scenes go. This movie has a lot of great moments in it. It's really smart, even though it can kind of be seen as a dumb comedy in some ways. But I've seen it twice now. I can't wait to see it again, and then talk about it probably even more after that. So if we're doing out of 10, I think I'd be right with you, Alex. I'd probably do about 7.58 or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just really hesitant to give it a great score, but like I want to, because I don't know, it's just a really damn good movie. I might amend that score later on, but easy 5-bagger, 2 sodas, and yeah, I think a rat would be a good choice. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for joining me, and then I'll see you guys in the next video.